Well, good evening, everyone. Boy, it's so wonderful to see such a wonderful crowd. Getting through these past few years has been difficult, to say the least, for all of us, and it's nice to be able to have this many folks here to gather to recognize and show your appreciation of two wonderful, wonderful individuals serving our communities, both in fire services and law enforcement. I want to first of all acknowledge some folks that are in the room. The most important folks that are in this room are seated at this table right over here. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Angela, and Heather. Heather DeClue is with us tonight. Raise your hand, Heather. And these are special individuals. Angela, raise your hand, and Alyssa. Heather DeClue is the wife of Savannah Fire Captain Michael McFadden, who tragically lost his life, and it's just such a wonderful family. And Heather, you have been a dynamo in this whole process. I mean, it's so much just heartbreak and coping, but you've been there for the other families, and I think that's what's so important. And Heather's daughter, Emma, is attending Yale right now. And so we have 6 family members in college right now. And Angela's husband, Ernest Mo McDuffie, transitioned from us. And his last alarm was in February, so it's an interesting time period for you, Angela, being that we're in February, and we appreciate you being here. Alyssa's attending college right now, and we know that if Michael and Mo were with us today, and I know they are with us in spirit, they know that we're doing the very best that we could possibly do, and that's ensure that our family members have the opportunity to go to college and be taken care of, and we have 6 family members currently in college right now, and we're very proud of that. So thank you for being here, all 3 of you. I'd like to introduce somebody who's new to the organization, my better half, someone who has a lot of business experience and degrees in that field, and also knows what it's like to say goodbye to a police officer when he goes off to work. And so I'd like to acknowledge Francis Dana for being the new administrator of the 200 Club of the Coastal Empire. Francis. One of our biggest supporters, absolutely a dynamo. Whenever he's asked to come help, he's raised so much money for the organization, it's almost difficult to count now. Not only does he in his office do so much as a team, but he and his wife Dottie personally give money to the organization. Our Chatham County Sheriff, John T. Wilcher, is with us here this evening. And you can't run an organization without top leadership. So I'd like to acknowledge the fact that his chief deputy, Gary Taylor, who is extremely important supporting the organization, as well as the entire command staff, it appears, are here with us today. So Gary, thank you for being here. Someone who's going to be speaking to you all this evening, someone who's very important not only to the state of Georgia, but also to our nation. In his capacity, not only as our insurance commissioner, but also a general in the military, we're pleased and proud with his busy schedule that he's joined us tonight. Commissioner John King is with us tonight. I saw the mayor earlier, and I truly appreciate Mayor Van Johnson being here with us today. Thank you, Mayor, for your leadership and your ability to be here. Chatham County Commissioner Helen Stone, who's also a board member, is here this evening with us. So Helen, thank you for being here. And from the great city of Pooler, one of the dynamos over in Pooler, Councilwoman Karen Williams is with us here today, so let's acknowledge her. We also have with us this evening our city manager of the city of Savannah, new to the city, but I can tell you what, if anybody hasn't met our city manager, Jay Melder, I really encourage you to do so. I've had the pleasure of doing it. He is exactly what we need. And I am so happy, Mayor, that you and your leadership selected someone who can really take this city to the next level and provide the consistency and the ability to really energize the team. And we're happy to have Jay Melder with us this evening. And with us in fire services, our leader, Savannah Fire Chief Derek Menard is with us this evening. Thank you, Chief. We also have the Savannah Police Chief, our good friend and supporter, Chief Roy Minter, is with us. And also, traveling all the way from Wayne County, Sheriff Chuck Mosley is with us here. If there's any members of our elected body that I haven't recognized, I'd ask that you please stand. Okay, and be recognized, having seen none. And someone who's a blast from the past, that he's a good friend of ours and a good supporter, I want to just give a big shout out to our former police chief, IT director, police chief, fire chief, Mark Revenue, who's now deputy to the commissioner of our insurance. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on with the program now. I want to go ahead at this point, before we start, let's call the colors. Present. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to now recognize and introduce two individuals over here, Mr. Gary Strickland, who's been here all day and performing for us, as well as a special guest this evening, Mr. Roger Moss.
From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam, God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Roger, very much. That was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. We didn't expect anything less, knowing you. Thank you all. So, everybody who knows me knows that I am certainly less than anything close to being perfect. So, I failed to mention two individuals that are actually very close to me, that I actually said hi to earlier. And it's so important to the organization and such great supporters in our law enforcement community. Please, ladies and gentlemen, acknowledge our Pooler Police Chief, Ashley Brown, and our Chatham County Police Chief, Chief Hadley, Jeff Hadley. Okay, well, we're going to get the program going, and someone who's going to do that for us is a really good friend of me, my wife, our family, and an advocate for over 35,000 family members in our community. I'm pleased to know him. He's the president and CEO of the Tourism Leadership Council. I'd like to welcome to the stage Mr. Michael T. Owens, as he is our MC.
Let's get ready to rumble. Oh, I thought it was a city council meeting. My bad. I saw all the badges, and so I just assumed. Hey, they pay me no money, so I get to kind of do my own script here. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'm very glad that you're all here. It's a great night to highlight the heroes of our community, the folks who run into danger when so many run out. It's these folks who protect our lives and our livelihoods, and they really put their own lives and the happiness and safety of their family at risk every time they go out on a shift. And so tonight is a night to honor them, to celebrate them, to thank their families, and thank the whole community for their support of these heroes. We're really blessed tonight to have somebody come give a keynote speech this year, and I'll tell you, I got to know General King very shortly after he was appointed, and I was with some friends in Atlanta in the Capitol, and they said, "Have you met General King yet?" And I said, "No, I haven't." And so, "You got to go over there. You have to meet this guy. You have to meet this guy." So I went over to the office, and did you get new carpet, by the way? Because it was awful back then. I happen to know his chief of staff, and many of you know his chief of staff, Martin Sullivan, so we finally figured out what to do with Martin. We put a general in charge of him, and he's basically tamed now, basically. And it was this great big office, and he had all these toys and weapons from all around the country. I mean, I was fidgeting with all of them, and he asked me to please put them down and to sit down, and I did. And he talked about himself very, very little, and what he was interested in was talking about what I did and who I served and our members. And he said, it is my job to make it easier for Georgians. It is my job to understand. He said, I don't know a lot about insurance, and I'm about to, and now he certainly does. He said, but I know a lot about helping people because that's what I've done my whole life. And it's absolutely true. His resume has never made me feel less adequate as a human being in my life. And he really doesn't like the big bios, and I'm not going to go, but I am going to touch on some things. His appointment was historic. In July of 2019, he became the first Hispanic statewide official in the history of Georgia. And you have certainly made an incredible example through your work and dedication. He has been a police chief. He has been a detective. He was with the Atlanta PD. He was with the Red Dogs, organized crime and intelligence. The bastards shot him in 1987. And he returned to our streets when he recovered and continued to serve that great community. He is a major general, and he has been deployed to Afghanistan, to Bosnia, to Iraq. He served as military advisor to the Deputy Minister of Security, which was a police force of 96,000 police officers. He is now one of the most important folks that we have in the state, and people don't realize until they need him. And I will tell you, and it won't mean a lot to other people, but it means a lot to me. I had a friend call me, and he said he was trying to open up his hotel on the south side. You remember this? And he said, I have to have this elevator inspector. You know, that's where you see General King's card is in the elevator. If you do not see his card, take the stairs. And this guy was almost in tears. He said, look, we've put tons of money into this thing, and this COVID was happening. He said, you know, we had to finish off this project. We finished off this project. I've been trying to be open for 2 weeks, and I can't get an elevator inspector here. And I said, what's going on? And he said, well, apparently he's got COVID. And I said, well, it is going around. And he said, well, it's very flu-like. And he said, is there anybody I can, you know? And I said, there is somebody. Let me make a call. And so I said, send me the details of your address, of all this stuff, and I'll make a phone call. And the general gave me his cell phone number, when I met him, and I called that number, and I said, look, this is what's going on. He said, Michael, just send me the address. And he said, I'll take care of this. Well, this guy called me back literally now in tears, and he said, he's put somebody in the car who's on the way from Atlanta right now. That's somebody who gets it. That's somebody who understands. Sir, you have stood to protect the country and the people, and you still do that as a major general, but you're also still improving lives of others. You're listening to others. You've been there, you've done the fight, and you're still making it better and serving this state. You know, after this election, there's another gubernatorial election. I'm just saying, you'd be interested maybe, I'm bad at math, was that 2026? Huh? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our great Insurance Fire Safety Commissioner and General John King.
Wow, how do you follow that? You know, I love the coastal area. This is, I usually, a lot of times when I introduce myself, the first thing I have to do is explain the accent. So a lot of people think I'm Irish, I'm Cajun, I'm Scottish. I mean, they think I'm from all over the place. And my father was raised in Berrien County, in Nashville. And at age 16 and a half, realized that he wasn't really fond of being a tobacco farmer. So he ran off to the beautiful city of Savannah and joined the United States Merchant Marine. So he sailed right from here and started his life as a sailor, fighting during World War II. And after World War II, he decided that he retired in Mexico. So what you hear is Spanish and Southern rolled together. And so I wanted to explain the accent right off the bat because I want to make sure that folks understood not only my deep ties to this country, to the state, but specifically to the great city of Savannah and the great folks around here. I've had the distinct honor and the humility of serve alongside your sons and daughters as the commander of the 48th Infantry Brigade, great 118th Field Artillery Battalion, Chatham Artillery, that fired artillery for me in combat. Thank God they got the A+ in math because you don't want a bunch of tankers, calculating artillery. We tend to drop some rounds short, and so. But why are we here today? In this, I tell you, I go back to my memory as a chief of police in Doraville. Probably my hardest day as a chief of police was May 13, 2000. I lost one of my police officers. He was shot and killed on the streets of Doraville. And then I had to make that long walk to the family, to wake them up at 3 o'clock in the morning to tell them that their son was not coming home. And there's nothing that prepares you for that. I mean, the chiefs and the fire chiefs here, there's nothing that prepares you. No FBI academy. You can go through all these management courses. Nothing prepares you for that long, hard walk. And of course, your heart is breaking. And all you men and you women are looking at how you gonna react. And that really defined and I'll tell you, seeing this great organization, the 200, I wish I would have had a fantastic organization like this in a community that truly embraces their first responders. And that's something special. And so when we talk about a celebration, this needs to be a celebration. Because it's easy to focus on how our loved ones and our first responders passed, because typically they're very tragic events. But that's not fair to them, it's not fair to their families, it's not fair to the organizations. We need to celebrate their life. And I talk about soldiers that I've lost in combat. It's too easy to focus on that tragic event. We really truly need to celebrate their life. And thank God that you all have this great organization that celebrates the life and the families. People don't realize that there's an unwritten contract between first responders and their communities. We expect our first responders, we expect our fire responders to run into a fire. We expect our law enforcement officers to run to the sound of gunfire. Why do they do that? Because they know their communities have their back. And that is the contract that is written. And it's written, many times without understanding. Our young employees join an organization, and then they start getting it. And so this event, in an organization like this, I wish we could, there was more of those across the state because it's severely lacking. But this is the merging of that contract between communities and their first responders. That if you are willing to put your life on the line to protect and serve your community, that the community has got your back. In the presence of so many dignitaries and some, sheriff, mayor, chiefs, this is an affirmation of that contract. And we can't forget that. In this world, everybody wants to talk about all the things that we have that's wrong in our community. And I remember the poster that I saw before I joined the Atlanta Police Department. Is you can talk about what's wrong with society, or you can do something about it. And thank God we have folks that are willing to put on this uniform to help us figure out and fix the things that we have in our community. And so I tip my hat to y'all. But I tell you, I cannot tell you how special this organization is. And we're getting ready to celebrate some incredible achievements from some heroes. And I know when you say that to a law enforcement officer or to a military person, they get embarrassed. No, nobody likes to be called a hero. especially with somebody in uniform. They feel like they're just doing their job. But guess what? The majority of society are not willing to take these risks. They're not willing. And we're having a tough time recruiting and retaining this incredible talent that our society, our communities desperately need. We need those young men and women every day to suit up and go and answer the call. And so I ask you to join me and celebrate these great achievements, and also celebrate the contract that we have with the families of our lost, partners that we've lost over the years, that they're not forgotten, because the contract is not just with the responders, it's with their families, and it's a lifetime contract, and it's automatically renewable, almost as bad as an insurance policy. Just kidding. But I ask you to help and join me and celebrate these great achievements and celebrate these families that continue being part of our lifeline. Thank you all. Appreciate that.
Who wants to follow that? We are here to celebrate two heroes in our community. It takes a lot of folks to make this organization work and this evening happen, and I know Mark will thank many of them tonight. I want to thank Larry Silverman, where are you, with WTOC. There he is over there. I want to thank you, and let's watch what WTOC has done to tell us a little bit more about our heroes before we bring them up and recognize them.
When you go through these types of situations, you have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. The best thing to approach situations like these is safely.
It was in the middle of the night when two local first responders answered just such calls last year. But Savannah Police Officer Peter Suppa and Savannah Fire Engineer Jeremy Kemp both put the safety of others ahead of their own during dangerous incidents.
We arrived on scene, there were already flames coming through the roof of the house, so the fire was self-ventilated. At that point, we made entry.
Kemp entered the living space of a downtown home during that November fire and found an elderly man inside a bedroom.
I got him to get up and started walking him out of the house. And he was cooperative at first, but then as soon as we made it about just out of his doorway into the hallway area, he kind of collapsed in on himself, and I was able to pick him up. And at that point, another member of my crew came and helped me out as well. And we were able to get him out of the house very expeditedly. And once we had him outside, I immediately began administering aid to him, getting him oxygen, and making sure that he was starting to get better and that he could speak.
Suppa faced the same uncertainty when he responded to the report of shots fired inside an East Side home in March.
We had to kick down the door, get into the house. We located the subject, arrested the subject without incident, and render aid to anybody that was there.
The call came from a 12-year-old whose grandfather had shot at his grandmother and still had the gun in his hand.
At the time we arrested him, we also located a door that was shot at, which had the grandmother and the grandson inside the door, on the other side of the room. After we took him into custody, we also made sure the rest of the family was fine.
I'd ask that Mark Dana, Brooke Stillwell, Bob Brombridge, TAC Argentinis, Chief Roy Minter, and of course our hero, Officer Pete Suppa, to join us on stage. Let's give a round of applause.
The Savannah Police Department nominated Officer Peter Suppa for the 200 Club of the Coastal Empire's 2022 TAC Argentinis Valor Award for demonstrating exceptional bravery and restraint in responding to a domestic violence incident on Wolf Street in March 2021. On March 5, 2021, Savannah police dispatchers received a call from a 12-year-old child who was crying. The child told dispatchers he and his grandmother were barricaded in a room in their Wolf Street house because his grandfather was shooting at them and threatening to kill them. Officer Suppa arrived on the scene and saw blinds of the window start to move. A young child appeared in the window and pointed toward the door for Officer Suppa to make entry. After witnessing the child's distress and hearing the gravity of the call from dispatch, Officer Suppa chose to immediately enter the home rather than wait for SWAT to arrive and make entry. Upon entering the home, Officer Suppa immediately detected the odor of gunpowder, observed cartridge casings on the floor, and a door with multiple bullet holes in it. The child and grandmother then poked their heads out of the door that had been shot at, but Officer Suppa advised them to stay in the room for their own safety. Officer Suppa and another officer who had just arrived at the scene searched the house and found the suspect in a bedroom lying on the bed. The officers immediately acted, taking the man into custody. A gun was located under the pillow he was lying on. The man had a live round in his pocket. Following the man's arrest, officers learned that he was a convicted felon who had previously been jailed for shooting his wife. His wife informed the officers that the man had a severe alcohol and drug dependency that often resulted in violence toward her. Due to Officer Suppa's selfless, life-saving actions on March 5, 2021, the Savannah Police Department believes he is a deserving candidate for the 200 Club of the Coastal Empires TAC Argentinus Valor Award. Please join me in congratulating Officer Suppa.
Became a crowded stage. Chief Menard, will you join us? And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome community hero, fire engineer Jeremy Kemp.
In submitting the following nomination for the 200 Club of the Coastal Empires 2022 TAC Argentinus Valor Award, the Savannah Fire Department is honored to recognize Fire Engineer Jeremy Kemp. On November 6, 2021, shortly after 3 a.m., Fire Engineer Kemp knew his search for victims would be dangerous. Fire Engineer Kemp entered a house with smoke and flames raging from the roof in the 2000 block of Crenson Street. Fire Engineer Kemp was unaware that the victim he was about to encounter was in fact the individual who set the fire during a psychotic episode. While crews worked to extinguish the fire, Fire Engineer Kemp made his way through the thick, acrid smoke and entered a bedroom door, where he found a despondent individual calmly sitting on the edge of a bed. Although flames frantically consumed the home, the rambling and confused individual told Fire Engineer Kemp he wanted to speak with the Creator. Despite the unpredictability of the situation, Fire Engineer Kemp was able to gently convince the individual to be guided out of the bedroom, past menacing flames, through stifling black smoke and blistering heat. But before they could make it to safety, the individual collapsed. Not considering the tremendous risk to his own safety, and with no hesitation, Fire Engineer Kemp carried the collapsed individual the rest of the way out of the house. Once safely outside, Fire Engineer Kemp tended to the individual's medical needs. The selfless, heroic actions of Savannah Fire Engineer Jeremy Kemp saved the life of a vulnerable person who had clearly reached a breaking point. Please join me in congratulating Fire Engineer Jeremy Kemp.
Not surprisingly, the general is right. We have to celebrate the lives of our heroes, and we've done that tonight. I know it's the usual custom that we ask all LEOs and first responders to stand up. I do that a little differently. I'd ask for all of our first responders to sit down while the rest of this community stands up for them and thanks them for everything they do for this community every single day. This community will always stand up for each and every one of you. Words are no longer enough. You know, it's getting to be warm in Savannah soon. We're going to see officers and firefighters out there on the streets, protecting us, keeping us safe, doing blood pressure checks at our fire stations. Thank them. Shake their hand. Offer to buy them lunch. Offer a bottle of, okay, apparently I'm done now. That's super subtle. Is the pooler chief, who still has not fixed that ticket. So it's not, words are not enough. Actions always speak louder than words. These first responders always respond with action. I'd like for us to commit here to do the same for each one of them, for their families, and for their children. Let's welcome back Mark Dana, and let's thank him for his tireless efforts in support of this community, our law enforcement officers, and the 200 staff.
Oh, stop. That was so kind. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Well, this concludes our wonderful evening. We keep it as short as we can because we all know how busy everybody is, but it's most important to spend most of the time hearing from our keynote speaker and certainly recognizing those heroes here tonight. So I'm going to go through some thank yous, and I'd ask to hold our big applause until the end. First of all, this facility, if anybody's tried to rent it, it's not inexpensive. It's a first-class facility with first-class people, and with the generosity of Charles H. Morris, who's our chairman emeritus, he provides this facility completely at no cost to the organization. He's an amazing man. John Wilcher, our sheriff, who's always there for us. All you got to do is pick up the phone and call. In fact, anybody, if you're ever around him, he passes out his business card with his cell phone number on it. So if anybody calls him, he always answers the phone. I know that for a fact because a 5-minute conversation usually takes about 45 minutes in between him answering the phone calls. But anyway, Sheriff, thank you so much for the honor guard that you provided tonight, as well as the outside security, which is greatly appreciated. Thank you, sir. And I'll run through these if you don't mind. Again, General Commissioner John King, thank you very much. Our newly appointed, newly elected, my mentor, my sensei, TAC Argentinas, is now our newest chairman of the organization. Thank you, TAC. Major Bob Bromage from the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office, thank you. Maria Cortez, thank you very much. The audio that you're hearing and the AV equipment is provided to us at no cost, like so many organizations, by Advanced AV with Sam and Fumia. If you see him, tell him thank you very much. I don't believe he's here right now. Fancy Plants, Michelle Badham, thank you very much. And all the flowers that you see here, by the way, you're welcome to take the flowers, but I will be in serious trouble if you take the vases, okay? I met Maria today. Yeah, serious trouble. Cato Designs, Maria Cato, thank you. Gary Strickland, of course, He's a wonder. He's got all these instruments over here. He'll play whatever you want, all at the same time. Thank you for that, Gary. Jamie Parks and the Savannah Convention Center did all this food for us. All the linen, set this place up. The tables were here. They put everything else in here. And thank you so much for Jamie, for your tireless work and your efforts. And the Savannah Convention Center, ladies and gentlemen, is a very generous organization. Our PR firm, I'm so proud to have them with us and on our side, Leslie Francis PR. Leslie's in the back over there. She's a true professional and will continue to keep us on track to be all that we want to be. So thank you, Leslie. Russell Landscapes, helping with these plants behind me. Alicia Briscoe and Brianna Evans, part of the McKibben group, are with us tonight. Alicia's taking the photographs. She's a wonder, and Brianna's standing next to her. Thank you both very much. Former employees of mine, they'll always be in my heart and always be part of my family, so thank you both for being here. And of course, Roger Moss, thank you for making it here. And most especially, thank everybody here for making the trip out here and supporting the 200 Club in our mission. It's a $250,000 commitment every time we respond to a line of duty death, and so we're closing in on $4 million in the money we've given so far to the families that we proudly and honorably serve. We couldn't do it without you. So thank you all very much. Drive safely, have a good night, and our first responders, please be safe.
Thank you.